I talked about this in an earlier build video on the miter saw station here, and I'm finally getting around to it. I'm going to load up this special pullout here. This is one of my vertical storage things. I'm going to take stuff from my toolboard over there that I really don't think should be over there and put it in here. I've gotten some new tools. I either bought them or made them, and I don't have room here on my toolboard to put them. Now, I was going to build another toolboard over here that's slightly off the wall. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet. I still have a lot of storage in that miter saw station that I need to take care of before I do anything like that. So basically what I'm going to put in there are all of the, well, at least these two nailers that I have here and all of the nails that go with it. The nails that I use for this are currently in a drawer down here, and they're all jumbled up and they get covered with crap, and I throw other stuff in there so they get messed up. So I want to try to organize those a lot better than they are right now. Now for the guns, I've got two choices. I can either put them on this panel right here, which would make them a lot faster to access, or I can put them on the inside here, which probably makes more sense because you're just going to take out the gun once, but you're going to have to get at the nails several times, usually when you're, assembling a project. So I'll put the nails over here, I'll put the guns in here, and that'll leave me space on the bottom to put another small shelf that I can put other things as well. Now back over here at my tool wall, I can take down this handsaw, which actually has cobwebs on it because I don't use it. So I don't know, I'm thinking about moving this one up here, out of here to give me more space, although it really doesn't take up any space up there. So I may as well leave it. And the beauty of this system is that everything just slides out because they're on these shaped things here. If you haven't seen the video where I made this toolboard, there's a link in the description to that, and also the build article on my website. So I've already got the tool holders made here, and they're just attached to these strips that fit in there. So I can just break that off. It's glued, and it's also put on there with a couple of brads, so maybe I'll have to pry that off with a chisel or something. Get this one down here as well. The idea here is that I'll be able to take these off, mount them over there on that, and then I'll be able to reuse these strips over here, just, mount the other tools on, slide them back in. Okay, I'll just put that in my vise and pop that strip off. Hopefully it comes off cleanly, although it's not a big deal to cut more of that stuff to go in there. I think I actually have some extras around here as well. But this is the right length and I can reuse it, so why not? I got the sissy grip happening with the hammer here because I'm not trying to pound this too hard. Just want to break the glue free, and then the nails will just pull out. And as usual, they stay in the wood that they're driven in, and they pull right through what they've been driven through. Okay, I'll do the other one too in exactly the same way. To this day, I keep getting questions from people that have watched this video on this device for the first time, asking me, or commenting on, oh, that won't last. That won't last. So that's a good thing. Was it 4 years ago I built this, and I've been using it virtually every day since. It is my most used vise. I have this one, and that one. All three are homemade. I use this one the most because it's so convenient right here on the corner of the workbench. I could try to pull those nails out, but I find it a lot easier to just grind them off. And I've got my belt grinder here for that, so I might as well use it. Sands it nice and smooth on the back too, which is nice. Okay, so I think I'll put the 18 gauge one on top. I'm going to get it up as close to this side as possible, and that'll leave me some space over here as well. And up as high as it possibly can go without hitting the thing over here. And I think that looks good. So what I'll do is I'll just mark around that block and drive a couple screws in the back to hold it in place. So I've got my screw ready. Just going to drive that in. 2 1.25" screws is a little bit of overkill, but it will help to keep it from tipping. That's all. I probably could have used 1-inch screws for this. So that's that one. All I need to do is get the other one mounted in exactly the same way. I closed this up and I measured everything. I know that my guns stick out about 2.5 inches from the face of the back here. So that limits how deep I can make these bins up here. I think that the very first thing that I'm going to do here is make a shelf, a full shelf in the bottom here that has a lip on the front so that I'll be able to put miscellaneous stuff in here. One of the problems that I have is whenever you use a nail gun, there's always a little bit of a strip left in it. So when I change the nails out, I take that small strip out and I put it, well, I was putting it in a drawer over there. So there's several short strips. And then whenever you use that size again, you don't bother to look through those because it's inconvenient to look through a drawer down that low like that. So I figure this shelf over here, I can use part of it at least for that. I'll be able to put those loose strips in there. As much as possible, I want to make these shelves and stuff from the scrap plywood that I have laying around here. So I got a piece of 3/4 for that bottom shelf, although I think I could probably get away with 1/2 inch. That extra 1/4 inch is not going to make much of a difference. And I don't have any other use for this piece of plywood, so I'll use that. I'm going to cut it to 5.5 inches wide, and then I'll cut it to length on the miter saw to fit in there. Okay, I think it makes a lot more sense to take this thing out of here to do this, you know, especially when I'm working with the camera to try to get a good angle on what I'm doing. So that's the beauty of it. I can just pull it out and move it when I want to. All right, I've got the shelf and I want to put it in place. I'm not going to use any glue on any of this, actually. I'm going to use just screws, nails, whatever. That way, if I change my mind on this arrangement, then it won't be such a hassle to try to get it apart and take it out. So I'm just going to drive a nail in through the front, like this, and then I'll drive nails from the back as well. Now, one benefit of the shelf is that it adds a lot of strength to the whole thing, but it also makes it so that my thing here doesn't close because it pulled in the back a little bit. So I'm just going to have to trim some off. I can either take it off completely by undoing all these screws, or I can just plane some off with my buck plane. I think that's what I'll do. The shelf also needs a front, so I've got this strip of 1/2 inch plywood that I've cut the length and I've cut the width. I've cut it so that it sticks up 3/4 inch. I think that'll be great for what I want for this. Just gotta nail that in. Once again, no glue. Although I could put glue on this because it's actually part of the shelf, but I don't think it really needs it. I want to get these shelves put in next, but one thing I got to pay attention to is where they go, because as this door swings closed, if the shelves are sticking out too far on this end, they'll actually hit on the face. So I've got to hold them back. I've got this block of plywood more or less as a gauge, and I'll be able to determine where they can start. And it looks like about 5/8 from the edge of this piece right here. Of course, there's no restriction on how far in they can come. They can come right up to the edge of this because it will close in against the side here. The only problem is I've got these hinges here. I can either choose to hold it back from the hinge like this or extend over. I think that realistically the space that I'm losing here with the hinge is not really worth considering, so I'm just going to hold it back. I've got a total of 11 3/4. I think I'll make the trays 11 inches long, and I'll wrap the sides, or I'll wrap the front with a 1/4 inch plywood, and the sides with 1/2-inch plywood. The 1/2-inch plywood will allow me to solidly attach it to this panel back here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the side panels to 3 1/4. Then I'm going to reduce the shelf width to 3 inches. That way when I put the 1/4-inch plywood on the front of them, they'll go flush with the side panels, or at least that's the plan. Now I've got the completed rack clamped onto the panel here, and I'm just going to hold it on with 4 screws driven through from behind. I've already marked the hole location, so I'm going to drill a pilot hole and drive the screws. Okay, so all done. All I need to do is put it back in the thing here. Just a matter of sliding it back onto the drawer slides, if I can do that. Can be a little bit tricky to line it up, but once it starts to go, it's gone, and it works great. Okay, looks pretty good. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to put in here yet, and part of this shelf down here. I know that some of it I'm going to use for the loose strips that I have. But the rest of it's spoken for. I can put my nailers in here, and I'll get my boxes of nails up here, and I'll leave this one off with a picture of how it looks when it's all loaded up.